All right, drain the swamp and looking at the trial of former Assembly Speaker Shelly Silver. Now, jury selection, it begins today at the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. As you know, Silver accused of getting millions of dollars in kickbacks. Prosecutors say he steered money to a cancer research facility in exchange for referrals of patients suffering from lung disease. Then he raked in fees from Whites and Luxembourg, the law firm that he did work for. Later this month, former Senate leader Dean SKELOS, he'll visit the federal court for his corruption trial. Let's bring into the panel Brad GERSTMAN, political consultant, founding partner of GOTHAM Government Relations. And we were saying in the break here, it's going to be, you used the word, I think it's right, surreal, watching this play out in the courtroom, who's going to be witnesses, who's going to testify, and whatever else. It certainly doesn't look that the speaker, the former speaker, will go quietly into the good night. He doesn't look like there's a plea here, whether one's offered or not, doesn't look like he's going down. The question is, and let's try and inoculate Shelly, because she's one of the good ones here, the good Shelly, Mayor. But the point is, don't you think it's the culture as much as everything that's going to be on trial here? Because I know a lot of people said after Bruno, right? After there was reversal, and I think people read into it their own versions of what happened, but well, there's this gray area what you can and you can't do anymore. And if you can't have second jobs outside of it and you can refer business, well, where is the law being broken or not? And I think in many ways that's an even bigger indictment, that it's fuzzy. To me, if you read the indictment over here, it's damning what they're alleging sure. against Shelly Silver. Look,
first of all, there are more good ones beyond just the Assemblywoman here. There are a lot of really good people in Albany, and in politics in general. We do have a problem in terms of defining what people should be doing when they're a part-time legislator on their part-time part of their work week. That's part of the problem here with Shelly Silver in particular. It's going to be a surreal moment just to see all these players, donors, lobbyists, other elected members on the stand testifying. These are both, when it comes to Shelly Silver's case and to Dean SKELOS' case, these are not slam dunks by any means for the prosecution. They are going to be very complicated cases. They have to be able to link that quid pro quo together in both matters, and who got a benefit based on the things that were received. And it's going to be a very challenging
even who got
matter.
work for, who got paid for work they didn't even personally execute. This question you could answer it in many different ways. What do you think, not personally, but as an institution, Albany's most concerned that'll come out of these trials? That it's a pox on both chambers? Could it be that, in many ways, that there's just more names that are going to come out, this thing's going to become even bigger than just the two men on trial, or that nothing changes at the end of the day and the people think there's just this inertia that surrounds the Capitol, different names, different faces, different years, but it's the same old story?
Well, I think two things. One is things have already changed. And not changed because these men, both of them, are entitled to really have a vigorous defense, because honestly, as much as you find it difficult to believe, the law is unclear about exactly what is unlawful and what may be.
I believe you're right, but isn't that a problem?
Unethical. Well, that's true in many cases. It happens to be particularly true here, and it became egregious, and we'll see how the law plays out in the case. But I think the world in Albany has changed. I don't know if you agree with me, Brad. I mean, we have two new leaders in both houses. They've really changed the dynamics, at least in our house in the Assembly, significantly. There's the number of people who do outside work in addition to their legislative work is very small. It used to be this was the common thing. It was a part-time legislators. There were a lot of older men. They had a law practice. That's not the truth. Now you have all these young people. I'm old. They have the young people who are working full-time at being Assembly members. They do not have an outside income. That is a distinct minority. So that, I think that issue is moved aside, number one. Second place, we have a new speaker. He has a different style. I was just on the Joint Committee to select a new person to inform and make sure our members understand every rule. We just picked someone from Colorado.
Let's give Speaker Hayes the benefit of the doubt, give him a chance. I know you interviewed him on Newsbreakers, and Dominic sat down with him as well in the last couple weeks, so we've heard from him. But Andrew, to me, the most and again, innocent until proven guilty. Let's get all the caveats out of the way, okay? And they're real. But if you follow the indictments as laid out, and it's not just with the asbestos cases here, there's also the real estate deals that Silver's looking at. Let's even leave SKELOS aside here, right? That there could be some confusion that you're going to be using, allegedly, the power of one's office to basically procure business, steer it a certain way, get benefited from that, and that he'll make an argument that's just the way the business is done, and that supposedly is one of the arguments he'll lay out, that all the other kids did it. My God, that's an indictment in itself.
I want to answer the question you asked Shelly, which is, what's the biggest problem, what's the biggest fear in Albany? And I honestly think it's that Silver gets acquitted because he didn't break the law, but yet the process, because of that claim that everything was sort of legal, it's legal, but it's dirty. And I think there might be a fear that that would taint the way Albany does business. And you said the numbers, Shelly, are greatly reduced, but there certainly are plenty of lawmakers who still have second jobs.
Not plenty. Honestly, it's just a very small number. You'd be surprised, particularly in the assembly.
Or the sense that somehow other money is going to find its way into the pockets of lawmakers, and that, as you said, that this is just business as usual. And I think that taints Albany in a way more than a conviction does.
Can I also just add, along those same lines,
Go ahead.
the environment is so tough right now on lawmakers. And so this would be, and politics in general, let's look at the presidential race. You have two outsiders who are leading in the polls on the Republican side. So people don't like politicians right now. And in a trial where you have jurors who are making these very important decisions, especially on these two particular cases, it doesn't, lean or tilt in the favor of Dean SKELOS or Shelly Silver. They have, in as much as the prosecution has a long way to go to prove their case, because the elements of the case are very challenging with the facts that, at least that we know. On the other hand,
we're not talking about two schlubs here. We're talking about the Speaker and the Senate majority.
And you know something? The people are very much disgusted with politics, and as a result, these jurors, could have an easy time in convicting either one or both.
I've asked this Assemblywoman before, but from the pulse that you get, from clients you have up there, from folks, are they worried that this thing spirals out into even more than the two guys on trial here, that there could be other names? I mean, we could be talking about real power plays, maybe not names that people know in the general public, but for those people who know on how Albany works, people could be sitting there putting their hand up, and who knows where it goes from there, right?
Right. Well, first of all, anything that's going to be said on the stand at this point in time is going to be already known to the prosecution. Okay, they've already interviewed all these people.
But we don't know for sure who's going to actually testify.
But all
There's
these
witness
people,
list, but who knows who's going to actually get up
the
there?
witness list is usually as long as your arm, and then just a handful of those end up testifying, and the prosecution already knows. So if your name has been thrown around, it's already become an investigation about you, and you probably already know about it. That being said, is to answer the broader question, are lawmakers worried? Lawmakers are very worried. I mean, it's been well reported that lawmakers are extremely concerned about who's saying what and to who. And I guess if you've done nothing wrong, then you have nothing to worry about. But on the other hand, was what Shelly had mentioned, is the truth is that it is a very gray area as to what you can do when you're off duty as a legislator. You are a part-time legislator, and as a result, you have the right to engage in some kind of other business. Now, I do see a trend that there are less and less doing it, but there still are a number of them, and I know Preet Bharara has used the term and coined the phrases, you can't monetize your position as a lawmaker, and that really is true. However, it's hard to draw that fine line. Is what does that mean, and when is it become when does it become illegal?
I just have to get in there, because we're only emphasizing the most negative things. And I really think your viewers, and I know my constituents, as much as they have cynicism about the process, they actually, for example, do believe in me, and my colleagues who represent Yonkers and Westchester are doing their best. There is a residue of goodwill. People do not equate everyone's conduct as being unethical. But I think we have to make that point. As you said earlier, there are people, and I take myself out of it, who are working day and night for the best interests of their constituents, and in an ethical way, and in a financially ethical way, and they are the majority. And I really think we got to make sure that message is out there.
we will see. The trial officially began today with jury selection, and we'll, of course, keep you updated on it. We come back, we'll stay in New York, but if you had the idea that the governor and the mayor were BFFs like that, I don't know why you would, but anyway, there's yet another smackdown from the governor to the mayor. We'll tell you what this one was over. Stay with us.